Welcome to video 2 in this beginner's guide to modding Hearts of Iron 4. In this tutorial, we will show you how to create an event that adds a new national spirit to a nation. This includes creating the national spirit, creating the event, and creating the localization file for the two. Before we do this, it is important to understand effects, modifiers, scopes, and triggers. Effects are commands that you can script in the code to do something in the game. An example of this is to make an event appear in the game or to add a national spirit. Modifiers are values that are attached to present elements such as national spirits and technologies. These values modify in-game values for that nation, such as stability, political power gain, and army recovery rate. Scopes are used in scripting to say what the scope of the effect you are triggering applies to. For example, you can have an effect that only applies to all states with a port, or you can have an effect that applies only to the overlord of a subject nation. Triggers are used to state the condition that allows something to happen. These are most easy to see in-game when looking at focuses or decisions that require a specific condition to be fulfilled before they can be taken. With this in mind, we will now create an event that will fire a few days after the game starts. It will use a trigger to see if the scope of your country is at war or not. If you are not at war, an effect will give you a national spirit with a modifier to your political power gain. If you are at war, an effect with the scope of your enemy will give them a national spirit, modifying their political power gain. First, we will create the national spirit. These are known as ideas in the game files. To find the ideas in the vanilla game files, navigate to your root Hearts of Iron 4 directory, to Common, then to the Ideas folder. There, you will see a list of text files for each nation, plus a few extra ones. We want to replicate this layout in our mods folder. We will use the mod we created in the previous tutorial, and we will use Visual Studio Code as our editor. First, create the folder Common. Then inside it, create the folder Ideas. Now add a new text file. You can name this file whatever you want, but if it matches the name of a text file in the vanilla game, it will overwrite that vanilla game file. In this example, we will call it mfm_ideas. To mark the file as an ideas file, at the top, add the word ideas, followed by an equal sign, then open and closed curly brackets. In Hearts of Iron 4 modding, a block is any code that starts with a keyword that identifies what that block is. In this case, the word ideas, and is followed by an open and closed curly bracket. In this case, we'll create our ideas as their own blocks within this ideas block. These include national spirits, manufacturers, which are replaced by MIOs if you have the Arms Against Tyranny DLC, laws such as conscription and economy, and hidden ideas, which are national spirits that are invisible to the player. Inside the ideas file, type the word country, an equal sign, followed by open and closed curly brackets. Now we can add our idea. First, we write the in-code name of our idea without any spaces. In this case, it will be my_first_idea. Then we create a block for the idea. In the block, we require two things. First, a picture that will be the icon displayed to the player, and then a modifier. For the picture, you write the word picture, then an equals, then the ID of the picture you want to use as defined in the interface files. In this example, we will use the following: generic_pp_unity_bonus. Next, we will add a modifier block. This is done by typing modifier and creating the block. Within the modifier, we are going to add a bonus to political power gain. So we will add political_power_gain equals 0.3. This will add an additional 0.3 political power to our base political power gain. For the full list of modifiers, please visit the Hearts of Iron 4 Wiki's modifier page, which will be listed down below. Next, we will create an event. Create the events folder in your mod's root directory, then in that folder, create a text file for your events. There are 5 types of events that can fire in-game: country events, news events, state events, unit leader events, and operative leader events. Of these, country events and news events are the most common types. In this case, we are going to create a country event. For this event, the first thing we need to do is to find a namespace. A namespace is an identifier for your event. This can be any word you want. In this case, we will call it mod_event. At the top of your event file, write add_namespace equals mod_event. Without this, the event you write will not be recognized by the game and will not appear. Next, we will create a country event block. Write the word country_event, then create the block. Events require the following: an ID. Your event ID uses your namespace followed by a number, the title, the event description, a picture, which appears on the event, a trigger, this is what will trigger the event, and at least one option. This is the button or buttons a player can click on the event. The convention for IDs is for your event title, description, and options to be your event ID, followed by a T for title, a D for description, and then letters in alphabetical order from A to Z, skipping D and T for all the options. For the picture, we will use the ID of an event picture as defined in the interface files. In this case, it will be gfx_report_events_generic_read_write. For the trigger, you can have either a trigger block with conditions that will trigger the event, or you can have is_triggered_only equals yes. This means that an effect will have to fire to tell the game to trigger this event to appear. In this case, we will write a trigger block, then add in is_AI equals no. This means the event will only trigger for a human player and not for a nation controlled by the AI. With triggers, it is good practice to also add a mean time to happen block, which will tell the game how long on average it should be before the event is triggered. In this case, we will set it to days equals 1, meaning on average it will take 1 in-game day after the game has started to appear. You should also add fire_only_once equals yes if you want the event to only trigger once per game. Under the option block, which is the buttons the player will click at the bottom of the event, we will now add a trigger to see if they are at war, and if so, change the scope to the nation they are at war with, and then fire an effect to give that nation our new national spirit. Otherwise, the player will be given the national spirit. We will use an if block for this. An if block will check a trigger, and if the trigger is true, it will perform the effect within the if block, otherwise it will skip it. Add our trigger into a limit block within the if block. In this case, it is has_war equals yes. This will return true if your nation is at war. Next, we will add our new idea to every other country we are at war with. Create an every other country block. This is a scope block that will check a trigger and apply the effect to every country in the game that matches that trigger. Within it, add a limit block, then the trigger has_war_with equals root. Root being the nation the event is triggered for. Finally, outside of the limit block, add our effect. To add the idea, write add_ideas equals my_idea. Now we need to add the idea to our nation if we are not at war. To do this, we will create an else block. The else block comes after an if block and only fires if the if block is false. Then write add_ideas equals my_idea. For the full list of triggers, scopes, and effects, please see the Hearts of Iron 4 Wikipedia listed below. Localization files are what defines the text that appears in-game in various languages. To add the file, in your mod's root folder, add a new folder called Localization, spelled with the British English spelling. Then inside it, add one of the game's supported languages as a folder, in this case, English. Localization files are .yml files. These files can be opened and read in any text editor. The localization file must also include after the file name an underscore, the letter L, another underscore, and then the language. In this case, we will call the file my_first_mod_L_English.yml. Open the file, and on the first line write L_English. Note the lowercase l. This sets up the file so that it can be read by the game. Now we will add our national spirit name and the title, description, and options ID from our event. These are followed by a colon. Then, in quotation marks after the IDs, we will write our text. Once that is done, make sure all files are saved, and we open the game to test our events. Start a game as Germany, and after a few days of playing, you will get an event that gives you the national spirit as you are not at war. If you start the game as Italy, after a few days of playing, you will get the event that gives Ethiopia the national spirit as you are at war with them. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the playlist for the complete beginner's guide to modding Hearts of Iron 4.